Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today we are doing two things. Firstly, we are finally looking at the Junior Set Championship deck list. Apologies that it's taken me so long to get round to these, and we'll be finishing off my Azurite Sea first impressions set review. We haven't got a ton left to look at, but there are a few important cards that I haven't talked about yet that we're going to. Apologies that both these things are late, but I'm glad to be getting to it now. I've been cooking with some rogue decks for set 6, so after this video that will most likely be the next thing that you see. And then before the initial hobby store release of Azurite Sea on the 15th, I'll release what I think are going to be the most impactful early meta decks for any early tournaments you may be participating in. There's going to be a little bit of admin at the end, but I do want to push on, so a quick word to our channel sponsor, Cardmarket. If you're looking for Lorcana singles at competitive rates, then check out Cardmarket. But let's start off by highlighting some Junior Set Championship deck lists! So first, a quick look at the photos that I've been sent. By the way, there's fireworks going off nearby, which the mic may or may not pick up. So if you can hear fireworks, that's why. But yeah, all these pictures are ones that have been sent to me and that their parent or guardian has given me permission to show off. So here we have Bradley, who there might be some content coming to the channel before too long involving Bradley. You'll hear more about that at the time. But met him recently, super sweet kid and a super strong player. Quite well known already throughout the Lorcana community as a UK extraordinaire, as it were. So huge props to Bradley. And there he is again with another one of his successful set championship runs, rocking the Matt and the Mirabelle. We've also got Prodigy Player here, who is kind of like the North American counterpart to Bradley. Both really successful players so far in Lorcana. We've covered Prodigy Player before and still absolutely killing it. So huge congratulations to him. We've also got a lovely family here. I was sent this email by Daniel Laming, which I'm assuming is this gentleman here, saying, I wanted to send along a link and a picture for you. My daughter, Rosalie, managed to come 5th and 8th in consecutive set championships. What makes this even more impressive is the fact they're on different continents. Adventure Inc. in Milan, Michigan, and Boss Miniatures in Weymouth, UK. Unfortunately, they both cut to top 4, so she was not able to play it out for a mat. That is sad to hear, but still, Rosalie, he didn't say which one of these children it is, but nonetheless, a huge congratulations to you. This one was sent off by Mark here, who won a Mirabelle himself, and his 11-year-old daughter, Molly. A huge congratulations to you, Molly. And lastly, this picture here that was sent by Chuck Frost. Hi again, Baker from freezing Alaska. Wanted to report that my 14-year-old daughter, Eve, you gave her a shout out for her win in the Ursula Championship, back-to-back, Eve. That's what we like to see. Repeated her victory in the Mirabelle set. She ran a similar she ran a very similar red-blue as her last deck. My 9-year-old daughter, Ember, also took not one, but 2 top 4 finishes up here. Maybe too late to add your shout-out on your video. Not too late at all. We're here. Thank you for all you do for your community. Keep singing and being you. I will, my friend. And then he said, attaching a photo of her and the poor guy she beat in the finals. I'm guessing this is Eve. I thought we didn't get a picture of Ember, but that may be a conscious decision, of course, which is absolutely fair enough. But a huge shout-out to you, Eve. And shout-out to this guy pulling the grumpy face. Clearly a good sport, I would say. So, yeah, a huge shout-out to you guys. And there are some lists to look at for all those players, and then a couple of junior lists where they didn't send a photo, which again is absolutely fine. Not everyone wants to do so. If you did send me a photo and I haven't shown it here, please let me know. Same as with deck lists. Please let me know for a junior, and I will do my best to make it up. So let's look at some deck lists. We'll start off with Bradley, the young man we showed first. 2 different lists for Bradley for successful set championships. It's called this I Miss OG Bucky. You're the villain, Bradley. You're the villain, and you know it. But yeah, we've got some pretty traditional Emerald Steel discard going on here. The full 4 Prince John, only 3 copies of the Azurite Sea Reviews. The full song package, 2 copies of Cove, 4 Muses in here. Nice high package. That Morph, that Diablo package, the 2 Tinkerbell, 3 Beastie in here as well. Nothing too out of the ordinary. We know this deck is an absolute obliterator. So huge shout out to you, Bradley, for piloting it to a successful through a successful set championship tournament. And also bringing Bradley success was this red-blue monstrosity. Running 2 copies of the Queen of Hearts as well. Really nice for those early aggro decks that you tend to see a lot of aggro in set championships. Also just great for fixing your maths for locations. Along with Maui, you're now dealing with things like Library and like with Scar, finishing Library, Castle, Sisu plus Queen of Hearts gets rid of the Castle. This is significant. We've got a 2-3 Sisu package, 1 copy of that Scar, Vicious Cheetah, 2 Dime, 2 B Prep. No 1 jump aheads, maybe a little out of the ordinary, but I understand more red-blue players are at least going to lower counts. So Bradley cutting them completely, trying to give himself better odds of not being punished too badly by Ursula on the draw. Of course, how far I'll go, and B Prep are still, you run the risk, but these are too good to not run, in my opinion. 3 Ice Block traditional items, so yeah. Oh, and 2 Kuzco as opposed to any copies of Hideaway. So yeah, huge congratulations to you, Bradley. Next up, we've got Prodigy Player, repping the North American Juniors. Top 4 at set championships. So we've gone with the EA Tempo. Just win the game. Looking pretty nice. We've got a variety of 1-drops. We're on a 4-3 Clarabelle line. 2 Rafiki, 2 Bog, 2 Pegasus. So nice versatility there. And of course with the 3 Crab, those Pegasus can put in a lot of work, taking out Diablos at Cove. We've also got 2 copies of Sir Hiss for the Diablo at Cove. Traditional bounce package for Snake, for Goat, for Snake, for Goat, for Rabbit, for Fox, 3 of those Crab as I mentioned, 2 Kit Cloud Kicker for some more ball control, 4 of those Elsa, and then we've got 3 copies of the Sea Witch Queen. Great shift option on top of our 2-drop, shut down those singing decks, exerting characters, and we've got things like Rafiki and of course these Crabs we should be able to trade up quite consistently. And then 4 friends, 2 You're Welcome for a bit more ball control with that flexibility of being able to bounce your own characters back to get some more card draw, and just 1 copy of Queen's Castle, the location of choice. I think this is the most, like, EA Tempo decks tend to look 1 or 2 ways. They're either like more 4s and 3s, closer to 2 lines, like just higher count of stuff, or they're these more toolbox variants. The one thing that remains quite different between a lot of EA Tempo decks this format I've seen is the locations, or sometimes lack thereof. So yeah, just 1 castle for Prodigy Player, took in the top 4. Massive congratulations to you, Prodigy Player. Keep doing what you're doing, my friend. I believe Rosalie was the next picture we looked at, so let's look at her deck list. This is disgusting. This is way too fast for my control brain. This is way too fast, but aggro, I think it's a good choice as well for younger players, but because like there's less decision making, but that doesn't mean that you don't still have to be a good player to perform well at set championships with aggro, because just deciding when and when not to quest is a big thing to master. So I give Rosalie her full credit, and yeah, this looks so incredibly fast and lethal. Full 4 Chromacon, so we just keep the opponent's going to outvalue us in card control, but we're just going to out-tempo them. We're just going to literally race to game. We've got 4 bosses on a roll as well for some more lore gain, and control our top decks a little bit more. 4 gathering knowledge and wisdom for that lore gain. 4 befuddle to control the board. We've got Donalds and Baloos to be bodyguarders and to give extra lore. Simba as well for a bodyguard. And then just look at these 1-drops for Daisy, Lilo, 4 Chernobog, 4 Pascal, 4 Maleficent, and then we've got Piglets and Wendy Darlings for the 2-drops as well. This looks fantastic. A huge congratulations to you, Rosalie. Next up, sent by Mr. Mark, we have Molly with some Emerald Amber aggro, but with a bit of a mid-range package here. A lot of the aggro strats, Daisies, Lilos, Piglets, Pegasus, Bonsais. We've got the Donalds and just 1 copy of Baloo. We've got 4 3-drop Clarabelle, which can be some more card draw and gives us a total of 6 shift options for our Floodborn. We've got 4 Rapunzel, 3 of that Sven, who I absolutely love in this deck. Really great choice there. And 2 copies of Tinkerbell, I think is pretty good as well. Just that built-in Be Our Guest. These are all characters in this deck, no non-characters at all. So the opponent's never getting Ursula hits, so that's pretty cool. 4-3 Queen line. We've got 3 of the Floodborn Pegasus to shift onto. And I think 2 Chernobog in a deck like this, it's absolutely reasonable. You should have that online nice and quick. So yeah, just another super aggressive, fast deck, but with a bit more of a mid-range package. So yeah, looks fantastic. Well done to you, Molly. Next up, we've got Eve, who was also running some Ruby Sapphire, looking super traditional mostly. Two copies of Madame Medusa, only 2 copies of Maleficent Dragon, which is maybe a little low, but I think it's fine. 1 copy of that Great Stone Dragon on top of 4 Fishbone Quill, I super like, so you don't have to deplete your hand as much to help you ramp in the late game, especially because we're running big end game threats like Mufasa here that we definitely want to take advantage of if we can. We've got a 2/4 Sisu line, 4 Maui, 2 Dime, 3 Ice Block, 2 Hideaway as our way to get rid of locations and items, and 1 copy of Scar, Vicious Cheetah. I'm loving seeing my boy popping up more and more often in these red-blue decks. So yeah, it looks super, super good. Huge congratulations to you, Eve. And 2 last decks to take a look at, both sent off by the same person. First of all, we've got 8-year-old Maddison with some more hyper aggro. I would be so scared to run into you aggro players at a tournament. 4 copies of Maleficent for that extra consistency is something that I really like to see. Definitely don't see her as much these days, but super cool. Also, 4 copies of Bruni with that 2/2 evasive quest for 2, and when he's banished, draw a card. I know that some people are already rather enjoying the new Genie from set 6, from like proxy play and things like that. Like people that are testing super, super early before the cards are even out. They're getting a Sharpie and writing it on a card or a piece of paper, putting it in a sleeve and playing. And I know that people are really enjoying the Genies. And hey, this isn't quite as fast and not as much willpower, but it is an inkable one. So yeah, I super like this inclusion. And then a lot of the traditional aggro stuff. We've got Foxes in here for a bit more board control. 4 Castle, also 4 Kuzco, just to like and be another body that we can go wider without being punished so badly when it's removed, because we're still just drawing cards. So no Blues in here, opting for the Donald Ducks instead. The 2-line special, you loves to see it. Congratulations to you, Maddison. And the last list to look at, we've got Henley, age 11, with some good old-fashioned Ruby Amethyst, which you know your boy likes. I love this Pinocchio in there, Henley. I'm a big fan of Pinocchio. I think he's super, super good. I'd love to see a Rafiki in here alongside the Pinocchio. I just think their synergy is super good. But even without the Rafiki, he's a great option to be able to have when you've already got an established Fox. Or hey, even if you haven't, if you've got 5 ink, you can go Pinocchio, bounce it with Fox, immediately challenge. So that's a super good play. We've got 2 Chernabog and 4 Minnie Mouse, so hoping to have a slightly better matchup into those steel decks. And of course, the 1/3 synergize really well with the Merlin Crab. We've got 4 copies of Super Goof here. We're really fast. Again, Super Goofs are still catching people off guard. Not enough people are playing around them. This can be the extra reach you need, along with just your early questing with your minis. And like we're running 1 copy of the 3-cost uninkable Sisu in here, which might be able to get away with some stuff, along with Singing Friends. So yeah, along with those and Goofies and Goats, this is all going to add up. We've got 4 copies of the 3-cost inkable Sisu, and 1 copy of the Floodborn on top of these 5 shift options. I love to see it. 4 copies of the the 5th Spirit, which lets us play 1 copy of the Spirit of Winter, which I super like. If you're going to max out on these Elsas, I would absolutely be playing 1 copy of the Floodborn, 3B Prep, and 4 Brawl. You loves to see it. I loves me some Ruby Amethyst. Well done, Henley, for repping it to great success at your set championship. And that is it for the Set Championship Juniors. Again, if you did send me a list for a junior and I have not shown it, I am super, 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 super sorry. Please let me know and I will rectify it. I've done my best to keep up with all the emails and the tweets. So yeah, again, if I have missed out, I apologize. I promise I'll make it up to you. But let's jump in and finish off reviewing Azurite Sea. Again, there's some things that I've skipped and won't look at all, which if I don't think it's significant whatsoever, then I've just left it. But anything significant, even if it's just for like fun rogue play, or I think it could have potential in the future, then I still want to talk about it. So there are some I still have not. So let's jump in. First off, this Stitch Little Trickster. I mentioned it briefly if you watched the video of me versus Speci using the starter decks, and then at the end when I was talking about ways to sort of upgrade them, I talked about this Stitch a little bit, but I'm going to talk about it now in an official review. I think this is so good. I think if you've got this down, again, you need to have enough ink to be able to pay to use this ability, but if you are in that mid to late stage of the game, just putting this down for the cost of 2 ink means that you are at least threatening this damage. So like you're going to get some pretty favorable trades out of this sometimes, especially if you're taking out locations. So while I'm not saying, oh yeah, any Emerald deck this gets jammed into straight away, but when Emerald, like if Emerald and whatever it's paired with reaches a point where it's like, right, okay, we really struggle to deal with locations, or we really struggle to deal with this particular common body that has like 5 or 6 willpower, which the rest of the deck isn't necessarily running cards of that strength, then this could be absolutely be something that you utilize. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this. Next up, the White Robes. I don't think I've spoke about this, and I'm not going to say too much, but 3-cost Inkable 3/3 quest for 1 on play, game 1 lore. This is super good. I've already seen discussion that this could, in some worlds, replace Sisu. You're nearly always getting the same lore just for 1 quest. You've essentially gained the same lore that you would from putting down a Sisu and questing once. They can play around Sisu to lower the strength, and just having this constant 3 sometimes is going to be better. Of course, sometimes Sisu is going to be better, especially if you want to play the Floodborn, but there is definitely an argument to playing this instead, or even on top of. And I think especially in EA tempo, I think this is a sure add, and perhaps in Amethyst Steel as well. Ruby Amethyst, maybe. I'm not as convinced, but it wouldn't surprise me. But I think EA tempo and EA tempo is the one I believe this has a place in the most, and potentially Blurple as well. Depends, but this is a very good card. Next up, we got Iago, Reappearing Parrot, 4-cost Inkable 4/2 quest for 1, and when he's banished in a challenge, return to your hand. I saw this for the first time when I was doing that video recording the starter decks with Speci. It's not in the starter deck, but we got to open some packs, and at that point in time, the full set hadn't been revealed, and this was one of the cards that we opened. We were like, oh, I've not seen that before. It's cool. Obviously, the ability is super good, like just being able to reoccur it and return it to your hand. It's kind of expensive for the stats and the lore, but again, that's because the ability is pretty good. It's not something that I imagine any Amethyst player is itching to get into their decks at all costs. But it's not a bad card. It's just very outclassed by what we have, but interesting. And oddly enough, I haven't talked about this. Diablo, Obedient Raven, 1-cost Inkable 0/1 quest for 1. When this character is banished, you may draw a card. It's the best card in the set. I was genuinely going to leave it there, but I will digress a little bit. Yeah. This text of when it's banished, you can draw a card. We know Kuzco is super, super good. Being able to have it on your 1-drop is amazing. Yes, the fact that it has no strength can really bite you, especially against aggro strategies and anything that is a 1/1. You do cry a little bit, but outside of that, this is just so, so good. I prefer it to Brum, personally. The way they work is obviously different, and depending on board state, one or the other is going to be better, but I just like the idea that it's on banished draw a card. Like if you get B-prepped or something like that, then you'll just draw, Brum's on board or during your opponent's turn. If they're just vulnerable, you're not drawing a card. You're never drawing a card with Brum on their turn. You're only doing it on your turn, whereas this is going to be either or, and especially when you start combining this with Challenger, things like Crabs. So yeah, I love this card, and although that was already my opinion, but one thing I'm going to steal from Speci that I heard him say is that while I think it's the best card in the set, I think the impact it's actually going to have on the meta is minimal. Absolutely minimal. That bit's stolen straight from Speci. But yeah, as soon as I saw this, I was like, I love it. Incredible. Next up, a kind of cool one. Magic Carpet, Amazing Flyer, 3-cost Inkable 1/3 quest for 3. Not much to say here, it's vanilla, but quest for 3 is super good. Obviously, we hate 1 strength, especially when there are things like Sisu Daring Visitor in format. So it's not something I'm expecting to see, but I just think it's super well statted. And if you are just an aggro deck where you're like, well, all of my characters died to Daring Visitor, then you don't care as much. So yeah, I think this is cool. We ever find a way to ramp on 1, so we can play this on 2. I mean, that opens up a world of possibilities, but yeah, I think it's kind of cool. All right, here's an interesting one I haven't talked about yet. Owl Island's Secluded Entrance. Super cool. Lorcana original lore, and this owl has been referenced a few times. So I imagine this is where our journey on the Azurite Sea is taking us. Maybe it's not a hugely significant place. Maybe it's just like them adding to, oh, this is a landmark in the area that you're going past. But I have a feeling this is our destination. Time will tell. But yeah, it's 3-cost uninkable, 1 to move there, 6 willpower, and teamwork. For each character you have here, you pay 1 less ink for the first action you play each turn. And a lot to learn. Whenever you play a second action in a turn, gain 3 lore. That gain 3 lore is strong, and it's worth taking a look at this. We've had a couple of cards in the past that like have a condition to be met where you can make big lore gains, like Thebes and the Snuggly Duckling, I think it's called. But they are contingent on a few things, like you have to be able to challenge, and quite often you have to have a character of a certain strength. But here, just second time you play an action, gain 3 lore. And on top of that, if you've got, say, 2 characters here, then you're going to pay 2 less for that first action. So that's pretty cool. Like, obviously, if you're playing multiple actions from your hand in a turn, then you're depleting your resources. And we want to think about how we're filling that back up. Could be because we're paired with Steel and we've got access to Wheel. Could be that we're paired with Amethyst and we just have a healthy draw package as is. But let's not forget, just in Emerald of itself, I think like one card that definitely goes in this sort of build is Improvise, which is 1 cost inkable, +1 strength to a character, and then just draw a card. Because you want to maximize on these cheap actions, and if you can also draw cards at the same time, that's super cool. Of course, if you're playing with Steel, then maybe you want to be able to utilize things like Let the Storm Rage On, which is like songs are actions, which is cheap and also draws you a card. Any of these cheap action songs that draw you a card are going to probably be the way you take advantage of this the most. But then for your second action, you have these more significant things like Dragonfire, and we don't talk about Bruno, and the list goes on and on. Of course, there's other cards that we have that can lower the cost of actions. We recently mentioned the Iago with Evasive that lowers the cost of your next action by 2. We mentioned him when we looked at Bend to My Will as a way to play that on 5. So that's going to be something that you could potentially include here. All the way back in Chapter 1, we got Dr. Facilier's Cards, which is a lantern for... Yeah, it's a lantern for actions. Yeah. And there's going to be a couple more. In Amethyst, there's things like Hypnotic Strength, which is 2 cost inkable, draw a card, and give Challenger 2 to a character. And of course, just things like Gathering Knowledge and Wisdom. I think if you're with Ruby, there's a lot of fun stuff you can do here. Obviously, we have the new Maui Shark, so you could build all around actions. And then in Ruby, there's also things like Tigger, who gets extra lore and strength whenever you play an action. And in Ruby, we've got the new 7 cost uninkable Energy Blast, which is banish a character and draw a card. So Dragon's Fire, but 2 more expensive and drawing a card. But again, if we're building our deck with things like Iago and Dr. Facilier's Cards and things like that, and we're just maximizing actions, then great. I mean, this already sounds like a very unhealthy uninkable count, but nonetheless, there's probably something there. It's something that I'm probably going to look to build as one of my rogue decks. So yeah, even if all the pieces, there's definitely enough pieces for a rogue fun deck there. But in the future, the more cheap good actions we get, this could have some real potential. Especially if we combine it with characters that care about being at locations anyway. So yeah, I'm a fan of Owl Island. Another new location is Perilous Maze, Watery Labyrinth, another part of original Lorcana lore. 3 cost inkable, 1/8, 1 passive lore, and Lost in the Waves. Whenever a character is challenged while here, each opponent chooses and discards a card. Yeah, this is pretty good. 8 is nice and big and bulky. The fact there's a passive lore on there saves this. Otherwise, I don't think it would be worth it. Because it's awful if they've already got no hand, which I assume you're building your whole deck around discard anyway. So this is okay as another discard option that also helps you generate lore and isn't easy to answer. Is it good enough that it finds a space in, like, if you look at current Emerald Steel discard, is it good enough that we're taking something out to find room for this? I don't think so at the moment. A cool, interesting card. It's the sort of thing that will become more relevant in the future if we get like a super good card that we want in the play, that we want to play in the deck that cares about locations. Even then, it could be competing with Hidden Cove. But yeah, again, it's another one of these cards that, like, it's good. I just don't think we have a space for it. Yeah, I don't think I've talked about this one. Hades Strong Arm. Love the art. 5 cost uninkable, 4/3 quest for 1. Oh yeah, I'm talking about the art. We're definitely going to get the other part of that picture for the imps. But yeah, 4/3 quest for 1. And what are you going to do? Exert and pay 3. Banish one of your characters and banish chosen character. It's so expensive. It's so slow. Yeah, at the moment, absolutely not. As soon as you give us some more characters that care about being banished, which I highlighted one the other day. I think it was the Carpenter. Something like that. When he's in Amethyst, when he's banished, you can exert a character. Again, not good enough, but if we get better abilities that pop when our own characters are banished, maybe. What's good about this is like it's not necessarily a once per turn because it's not built into questing, so any of the effects that we have that can re-ready a character, which we have quite a lot of those, we just don't have many that then don't also say they can't quest for the rest of the turn, but this isn't built into questing. So there's worlds where we can do this a couple of times in a turn, and if you are at that mid to late part of the game, where you like if you've got at least 7-8 ink, and they spend their turn putting down a couple of characters, it's not going to be awful to spend your turn going, okay, exert, pay 3, banish one of them, play LeFou or something, ready, pay 3, banish the other. But unfortunately, that is the high roll, which is not going to be consistent enough at the moment. It's a legendary as well. Like, it is a super strong ability. It's a kind of a tradition for a lot of legendaries where they have like strong abilities, but then they're either just too expensive or uninkable, or there's just not enough synergy for them. But again, as the game goes on, perhaps we're able to cheat this in, perhaps we're able to play it cheaper, perhaps 100 different things where it is consistent to be able to like reuse this ability multiple times. It's a strong card, but there's not a place for it at the moment, I'm afraid. Worth mentioning, we did just get Diablo, which is a character that cares about being banished. So yeah, put my hands up to that before someone comments that. Acknowledged, I still don't think this is good enough. Just to quickly mention Card Soldier Sphere, because I don't think I've talked about this before, but I actually am kind of interested in this card. 1 cost inkable item, your damaged characters get +1 strength. So I've said many times in the past that I love things like Lumiere for that +1, because it's relevant in a meta which is very much run by Medusa, Under the Sea, Sisu. You could make an argument that Medusa's... I'm not going to say she's going to fall off next set. I don't think that's true, but I definitely think a lot of Ruby Amethyst are going the more aggressive burn route. You're still going to see a lot of Medusa, and you're going to see her in red-blue. She's still going to be in the meta, I believe. But yeah, things like Under the Sea and Big Sisu is very likely not going anywhere. The passive +1 strength to characters is significant. Obviously, you've got to be damaged, so this is only ever worth playing if you build your deck around this. You're playing Mulan, you're playing Mother Gothel, you're playing things like the Ratigan line, the one that gives plus strength to your damaged characters, and you're playing characters that benefit from being damaged, things like the Wreck-It Ralph. Maybe you're playing the new 5-cost uninkable Scar that has a built-in teeth and ambitions. Things like Gaston. Again, it's not a meta deck, but it is a rogue deck getting a little bit more support, I believe. So yeah, I just wanted to mention it. He's vanilla as heck, but I have to give a shout out to my boy, Dr. Delbert Doppler. Of course, it all makes perfect sense. That's why my old star charts are useless. Every star in the sky here is different. I don't do his voice well, but I wanted to read it. I just love the character from Treasure Planet. That's it. Alright, here's one that I haven't talked about. Tadashi Hamada. Gifted Roboticist. 3-cost uninkable 2/2 quest for 2. During an opponent's turn, when this character is banished, you may put the top card of your deck into Inkwell face down, then put this card into Inkwell face down. Double ramp. I don't see a world where this doesn't find a place. I don't know if it goes in just any blue deck straight away. It depends what you're doing. Do you tend to ramp on 2? Do you need to spend turn 3 doing something else? I don't know. All I know is that this is such a good ability. We want them. Brawl me. Please brawl me. We quest. Please challenge me. Like, even if you're getting a favourable trade, just that ramp seems so good on a quest for 2. So I think this has to be good, right? And another character from Big Heroes. I want to watch Big Hero 6 again, you know? I've mentioned that I watched it for the first time like a week or so ago. Really enjoyed it. And I've been thinking a couple of times like, I'm going to put it on again because I've known like I tuned out a couple of moments. So yeah, love to see it. Armored Companion, 5-cost inkable, 2/6 quest for 2. When you play this character and when he quests, remove 2 damage from another chosen character of yours. Gain 1 lore for each 1 damage removed this way. This is such a strong ability. Yeah, I think the fact that this is inkable as well and it's quest for 2. 6 willpower is significant. Again, 2/6 is like, it's okay. We died a Maui, we died a Brawl, we all die to any of the things that don't like 2 strength, but we don't care. You're getting advantage just from playing that. You're probably only playing this if you're immediately gaining lore. So he served his purpose, and you have to make him use those removal cards. So yeah, I think this is super good, and like, I don't know where he necessarily ends up. Instinctively, I feel Blue Steel might very well have a place for him, especially with like some of their bigger bodies. Like gaining lore is the main thing here, but the healing too could end up being super significant for the way the meta shapes out. So yeah, I really like this card.
Next up we've got Mr. Big.
Shrewd Tycoon, you've done me a great service. I love this guy. He was cool. This is from Zootopia, though, isn't it? Which is another one that I watched recently. Or Zootropolis, sorry. 4-cost uninkable, 1/1, a quest for 3. This character can't be challenged by characters with 2 strength or greater. Yeah, this seems strong. It's expensive. It's an uninkable. But, yeah, thing is, it just dies with Dust of Wind is the problem. Like, Daring Visitor, so much. Yeah, realistically, it's probably too slow. It's almost definitely too slow. But he's just cool, right? And, like, hey, if they don't have those removal cards and they've just got, like, big bodies, great, get a ton of value out of him. Yeah, I don't think there's a place for him, but he's just cool, right? A quick look to this Hercules, Unwavering Demigod, 4-cost inkable 2, 4 quest for 2, and Challenger 2. I think the stats are fine, like especially for questing for 2, but the main significance here, it's another Hercules that can pair with the Megara deck, which I think is pretty strong, and the more support that gets, I'm not mad. So yeah, you'd love to see it. Oh, and he's just made his way out of the Perilous Maze. That maze wasn't so bad. Let's see what this island has in store for us. So he's come out of the maze onto the Owl Island. I'm telling you, I love the lore, man. Next up, we've got Jim Hawkins, Rigging Specialist. 5-cost, uninkable, 5/5, quest for 2, shift 3, and battle stations. When you play this character, deal 1 damage to chosen character or location. Just the fact that he is a shift 3, 5-cost, we have to put a little bit of respect on the name in blue steel or any wheel deck, basically, or just any steel deck that wants to sing 5-cost songs. So that alone makes him pretty cool. Being uninkable hurts, but questing for 2 and 5/5 is a nice stat line. And yeah, this just 1 damage for playing him, I think is pretty cool. He's another one of, I think he's one of the better newer cards that I'm not sure if there's room for. There's definitely experimentation to be done here. I don't know where his place will finish, but I imagine a lot of people will play test with this Jim. Next up, Gantu, Captain Crankyhead, 5-cost inkable, 4/3, quest for 4. Play your smashes is all I'm saying. What on earth is this, and why did Steel need it? Someone saw all the memes, all the trolling from the Chapter 1 Legendary Gantu and was like, yo, hold my Inkcaster. let me make something real quick. And do you know what? Someone in my testing group said the most depressing thing the other day when they were talking about this card. They were like, oh, and he's a captain, so it helps me. And I was like, yeah, I feel sick. Yeah, this is strong. Another card that's really strong for steel is Calhoun. Calhoun? She's from Wreck-It Ralph. I love her, and I can't remember how you say the name. Anyway, 2-cost uninkable, 3/2, quest for 1. Resist and level up during your turn. Whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, gain 2 lore. This is like, there's an argument that this is better than Smee. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know where I fall on that argument yet, but I think the argument is fair. This is so good. Even for an uninkable, who cares? Look at these stats. Yes, you're only questing for 1, but like any time they give you a trade, and especially if it's like, especially if you can trade and, well, not trade, if you could challenge, banish, and survive, then that's crazy. Yeah, this is one of the best new cards in the set, absolutely, and like one of the most impactful, I believe. This time we got John Silver, Stern Captain, revealed by Speci, I believe. 8-cost inkable, 6/6, quest for 2, shift 5. We have a few John Silvers. We already have the really good 3-cost one from Into the Inklands that gets resist and extra lore based on locations, and there's another 3-cost inkable John Silver in this set. We jumped over him. He's okay. If you want extra John Silver targets or just pirates, then he's fine. But yeah, resist 2, shift 5, and at the start of your turn, deal 1 damage to each opposing ready character. I mean, he's a shifter. He's big and bulky. Questing for 2. It's another really strong card, but I just don't know. I still just don't know if there's a place for. I get if you're playing 4 of the Baby John Silver that benefits from locations, then I think there's absolutely an argument to including at least one of these. Even though you may end up actually lowering your lore if you've got a lot of locations, but obviously it hits a lot harder. I think the ability is good, but I'm not desperate to put this card in my deck because of that ability. I think it's a bit too... you're not always going to get it off. It's not always gonna be of a benefit. I'm not playing this card for that ability, ever. If I'm playing it, it's because it's a flood ball and I'm already playing other John Silvers and he's well statted and he's inkable. So that's probably about it. And again, love the art, love the character, as you know. And yeah, like Resist 2, 6, 6, 2 is an incredible stat line. It's just another one of those good cards. Do we have room? And the final card to look at is Wreck-It Ralph Ham Hand, 6 cost, uninkable, 4/4, quest for 3, and I wreck things. Whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item or location to gain 2 lore. It can be yours or your opponent's. I imagine I imagine Blue Steel wants to play around with this 100%. Like, they're perfectly happy to play this as an uninkable with their Fishbone Quills and their T-Pose and their new Sail the Azurite Sea. This is a great stat line, great questing potential, and banishing locations items, and it can be your own for that lore gain. Yeah, I think this sees play in Blue Steel. And that is it. So, I've talked briefly about... And that is it. So I've given my first impressions for basically the whole set, any of the cards that I feel are going to be significant. I'm planning on doing a live streamed tier list. We're only a couple of weeks away from an event that I'm going to in Bologna, Italy, where I'm going to be streaming Lore Quest out there. And I want to do a stream before then just to make sure that again, I'll be in a different place using different equipment, but I haven't done a stream on this channel before, and I want to make sure like all the settings are already right and all that. So I'm going to be doing a live stream of basically doing a tier list for Azurite Sea. I don't know exactly when yet. I'm going to try and at least make it like as later on in the day as I can, so that any of my like American viewers that would be interested in checking it out live, like if it's going to be a weekday, I'll try and make it so that you finish work. I can't promise anything, of course. It would be evening time UK. Let's put it that way. But yeah, I'll try and confirm as soon as I can when it's going to be, but it's kind of hard. Again, like the reason I don't really stream as it is, not necessarily because I don't want to. There is some anxiety there, don't get me wrong, but that's a different conversation. It's mostly for mum. Like, when I do these recording sessions, looking at deck lists or reviews, whatever it is, I'm up, like, every 15-20 minutes doing something for my mum. So the idea of doing a stream under those conditions where I might have to keep walking away and I don't necessarily always know what for, I thought that wasn't something I wanted to do. But I'm trying to make arrangements so that I can at least have, like, a consistent couple of hours, or at least where I won't have to keep disappearing, so I can make that happen. So yeah, if you're excited for that, let me know in the comments. But yeah, again, a huge congratulations to all the juniors. Please show them some love in the comments. And what do you think of any of these cards that I've looked at today? Give me your, do you agree, do you disagree with anything that I've said? Is there a card that I didn't look at that you'd like my opinion on? Please let me know. But that's going to be it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit that like button to show your support, and we'll see you soon.